Welcome to another episode of the Ordinary Leaders Podcast. I'm always excited about my guests, but today, OMG, I have two colleagues in education who I greatly admire. I'd love for you to introduce yourselves and tell the audience what you do, where you are, and if you want to throw in how we know each other, that'd be great.
Wonderful. My name is Ronelle Eddings, and I am about to embark upon my 32nd year teaching dance in public schools. And I'm very honored to work with Karla Hardaway here at Creekview High School. We are co-directors of the dance department at Creekview High School, which is a public high school in Carrollton. And our program is open to the entire community. There is no audition required. Having high quality courses are one of the reasons why we're still in the public school classroom, because we want to make sure that dance is available for everyone.
My name is Karla Hardaway, and this is my 18th year in education in public schools and 11 years at Creekview. I teach Dance 1, and I'm the director of the Cheval's Drill team and folklorical company at Creekview High School.
And I direct Moving Ground Dance Company, and that's our third varsity group. And I also teach dance levels 2, 3, and 4. In our history, we've had a men's class. We don't currently have one because of the state of our courses and what we have room for within a block schedule. But part of historically having this men's class is how we met your son. And so Miles started out in the men's class as a safe entryway to study dance and see what it's all about. And then he auditioned into Moving Ground Dance Company and was a member of that group for 3 full years here at Creekview before he auditioned and went to Point Park University. We had an extraordinary group of dancers at that time who all worked together and have gone off and done amazing things.
Yes, they have. You both mentored them and treated them with such respect as artists and held high expectations for them that they carry with them into their lives today. I am so interested in how you got here. I'd love to hear from you both about your history with dance. And I am particularly interested in what made you start the men's dance program.
When I was younger, my mom asked me if I wanted to take tap dancing classes. When she was little, she wanted to tap, and her parents wouldn't let her. They made her take accordion lessons instead of tap dancing.
Ooh.
I just love that story because my mom started dancing as an adult, and then I started as a young kid and really enjoyed it. I started out with tap and then ventured into ballet classes and point classes. And of course, this was at a studio. And then when I was about 12, my parents divorced. And that was really the end of the funding to be able to continue studying something outside of school where you had to pay. So there was a big move involved, and I moved into the Mesa, Arizona area, which is right by Phoenix. And when I got there, I was amazed to learn that I could take dance in my junior high. So I jumped back in and started dancing in junior high school. And I had a very vibrant teacher. Her name is Debbie Ball. And Debbie was just so excited about dance. I think she was a first-year teacher when I was there. And so we had a great experience. And then I continued dancing in high school. And to be quite honest, without hopefully not sounding dramatic, but dance was the reason why I went to school. The other classes were fine, but I had such a connection with moving that if I hadn't had the opportunity to do it in public school, it would have ended. And then I don't know where I would have ended up because there just was no funding for any outside classes. And I think because that was my experience, I knew that there were going to be other kids like me. And so when I went to college, I knew immediately that I was going for dance education and that I wanted to be a teacher in the classroom because it kept me in school and it gave me an opportunity to find my voice through movement. And so that was exactly what I did. And I went straight through ASU, got my degree, and went right into the classroom. That was how I got started.
Well, I'm from Torreon, Coahuila, Mexico. And in Mexico, I was exposed to dance through September 16, which is like the Independence Day in Mexico. And everybody in our school was expected to participate in the folklorico event. And that's how I started taking dance classes. It was through the public schools in Mexico. Well, I was in a private school, but it was part of that curriculum. And then at the age of 12, too, my parents got divorced, and my mom and my siblings, we moved to Dallas, Texas. And in ninth grade, I didn't take dance, but Dallas Black Dance Theater went to the high school that I was attending my ninth grade, and they did a residency and they did a modern class. And I just remember how fun it was because I didn't speak English, but I enjoyed taking the class because I didn't have to talk to anyone. Then they opened a new high school, which it was where we were sent to, and I make sure I had dance class because I didn't know dance was offered in public schools. Attending Molina High School, I was under the direction of Diana Elizabeth Gallego, and she literally taught us about folklorico dance, modern dance, ballet, all styles of dance. That was my favorite class. Again, I didn't speak English, so I just connected with movement. It was really nice because I was able to build a community, build friends. It taught me like the necessary skills to establish my life in a new country, in a new environment. And I think that's why going to college and becoming a dance educator, it's important for me to provide those spaces for students that are new to high school.
I think we both feel that way, that high school is where the action is, right? And oftentimes they make these really exciting changes because they never thought about doing it as a career or even just for the sheer pleasure of doing it, for relaxation or fitness. So I think we both find that really exciting. We can catch them when they're making those decisions and provide those opportunities.
And I think another thing that we really try to work together is that also helping them find their voice through movement. It's not like, oh, that step, it's wrong. You're not a good dancer. We really try to help them build that self-esteem through movement because their voice and their creativity is also valid. And all of us are different. And it's just finding that opportunity to help them grow in that area because then we have found that that's when kind of they continue dance. And then once they tell us they want a career in dance, of course that's a plus. But even if they choose a different pathway, they have the necessary skills to just succeed in anything they want to because they understand how to follow protocol. They understand the high expectation we have in the classroom. We teach them to respect other people's voices and perspectives through movement and how that translates into our everyday lives. They learn to collaborate, they create.
And finding the student voice has really become a cornerstone of our practice. And we've developed that together. We always had it, but after starting to teach together and collaborate, we really saw just a tremendous amount of growth because yes, dance is technique and there are certain rules that they do need to know in terms of movement and those vernaculars, but finding their thoughts and opinions and being able to express those through movement, that's a whole new world. So that's our writing. We argue that all the time with our administrators and say, okay, you can come see our writing, but it's going to be in the form of movement and choreography. That's the students have something to say through that.
I love your relationship. I love the synchronicity of it. I love the synergy of it. I love how y'all feed off of one another. And I was going to ask about how that collaboration sustains your energy and the vision for the program over all of the years because so many teachers work in isolation. You kind of close the door and you do your thing. But the two of you complement each other so well. And I'm sure that the trust that you built with one another, the friendship, because y'all are colleagues, but you're also connected outside of school. You can see that, and it unifies the whole dance program. Y'all are in such strong tandem that there is that consistency across the program, and it's really beautiful. I
Thank
do
you.
want to say just how important the program is to helping kids to develop their leadership skills in addition to their voice. I remember watching the students in my son's grade and my son's graduation year choreograph. And to your point, it is like an essay. You have a thesis. Everything's got to support that thesis. The lighting, the music, the costumes, the movement, obviously. It is telling a story, that creative part of it, but also to be able to direct the team and help them to navigate and translate your vision. These are all the things that I talk about that make a good leader. You got to have a vision, you got to have a strategy to execute that vision. You have to have strong communication skills, you have to build trust. When people are moving their bodies together, that is trust building. I'd love to know how many TV shows with dancers can you name? The TV show and the dancers. I'm going to kick it off and I'm going to do a super easy one. And I'm going to say Fresh Prince of Bel-Air when the mom did that little.
Oh, yeah.
What was the mom's name on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? Vivian. Her name
Yes.
was Vivian.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dirty Dancing.
Yes.
How about Fame?
Fame.
Yep.
Fame. Okay. Dancing with the
Fame.
Stars.
Dancing with the Stars. Center Stage.
Center Stage.
You got served.
You got served.
Oh,
Okay. How about
Yeah.
Spirited?
Where Mara was
Spirited.
dancing.
Yeah. Okay. The movie about the circus.
The Greatest Showman.
The Greatest Showman.
There's a lot of beautiful dancing in that one.
Oh, Coming to America too.
Coming to America too.
Oh yeah, yeah. La La Land has a lot of dance in it.
Honey, the movie
Honey, yes.
So all the step ups too. Did we say that already?
We did Step Up.
Step Up.
Oh, we said you got served.
Oh, you got
served. Yeah.
The Christmas movie is called Jingle Jangle. Fairly new, yeah. But the dancing, oh, you have to watch it because the dance.
Yes.
I was like, these dancers are dancing as if their lives depend on it.
What's the line dance that we do? Isn't it like a dance?
Oh, Saturday Night Fever, the 70s.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
What about the new Matilda? The choreography is fantastic. Oh my gosh, those kids are phenomenal dancers.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Is that the one Miles was in with BTS?
Was that Saturday Night Live? He did some stuff on the Late Show. It was the Late Show.
Okay, lots of representation. Most of the shows with guys dancing are hip hop related or musicals. There are a couple of documentaries around ballet, like Misty Copeland.
Yes.
Oh, but Rise, remember that documentary?
Yes.
There was a series of documentaries with dancers around the world. His name is Lil Buck.
Lil Buck. Yes.
Yeah, Lil Buck. Yeah.
Okay.
So I love that this program, especially those kids who were in the Moving Ground dance group, were able to have the space to really hone all of those skills over and over and over again. And to do so in a way that was so powerful that they got standing ovations, that people in the audience not only clapped, but sometimes would cry. There was something so powerful about the groups working together around their individual pieces. I also have this very distinct memory of the first time that I saw the recital for the men's dance classes of this group of guys with a kid who was wheelchair bound. And he wasn't able to move a lot of his body, but he was able to move his hand. And they surrounded him and let him move his hand. And they went crazy because it was on the beat and they cheered for him. And it was just the best thing that I think I have ever seen with high school kids rallying around their classmate in that way and including him and being able to say, you have a part in this. This is for you, and we're going to cheer you on. We're rooting for you. Not everybody was great at dancing, but they were having so much fun just being there. And to see these boys, you could tell they felt free. I was cheering as well because of the joy that they had for him. It was amazing. How do you do that with guys, especially high school teenage guys who are often worried about how they're perceived, this
Yeah.
idea of
Yeah.
masculinity,
Oh, yeah.
these messages that they get from society about how they should be? What does that look like over the course of the school year or the semester as it relates to how you're cultivating that kind of climate?
That's a beautiful segue to we believe that dance is for all people. If you've got a body, you can dance, and everyone's bodies are different. So all dance will look different to a certain degree, but you don't have to look a certain way or have a certain body type or any of the things that oftentimes we measure out in society. If you've got a body, you can dance. We can appreciate that everybody can do something. So, one of the things that we've talked about too is when they walk through the door, they have a gift. What's their gift? What is it that they're going to share with the class that will be different and unique that no one else has? Even if they have some trauma that we're unpacking in the classroom, there's something there that they're going to share with everybody else, and we're going to try to find it. And so that's kind of where we start.
Yeah.
We have these rules and we have these expectations, and we're going to get you there to follow those. But we're also going to honor you as a person, and we're going to respect that you're in the classroom, and we're all going to work safely here. So we work really hard to generate a safe environment. Oftentimes that's not the case elsewhere. We've grown up in environments where it never really felt safe to dance or move. There was kind of a judgment factor, or you felt like you were constantly being critiqued. And so it was difficult to really go to your fullest all the time because of feeling like you were constantly in an audition.
It was never good enough, strong enough.
Yeah. So I think what we decided was, yes, we have those expectations. And when we perform, we're looking for the students to do their personal best. But at the same time, we're humans and we're going to make mistakes. Let's be more accepting of all of those pieces and then how we can move through them together because they're going to happen. So let's not get too tripped up on, I can't make any mistakes. And then tying that into life. When we started the men's program at Creekview, it was the only one. What we had hoped to do was create a safe space for them to walk through the door and to try things without feeling like they were going to fail in front of female counterparts. The social stigma of dance being a feminine art form is something that we still deal with. Even male dancers today will tell you that they still deal with that stigma. So, going back to normalizing dance as something that people do and not females, right? It's not a masculine, feminine binary when it comes to looking at this art form in terms of acceptability. We got talked into it by one of our administrators who had several boys who didn't have a place to fit in, and she was looking for a place for them to fit in. They didn't really want to take any of the other fine arts classes. They didn't want to do ballet. So that was the feminine masculine identifier for them. And they wanted to do quinceañera dances. I said, okay, we can work with this. So I jumped in and read many books about teaching men in the classroom. I went to a men in dance conference and talked to a lot of our male dance educators about, did they have practices and protocols that were different for their males, just kind of trying to do the research beforehand if we were going to give them their own specialized space. Many of them said creating a safe space is really, really important, but they don't like dance for athletes classes, which for all of us was like, oh boy, that's a good bridge. But a lot of the dancers are like, I don't need to be identified in that way. I just want to be in dance. Most of the male teachers said, I teach my male and female the same. You don't need to do anything special or different. So I chewed on that for a little bit. And then when I got in to take class, I just really listened to the students. I had 12 in that first men's class, and they were straight up honest with me about everything. They would say, Miss, you're eroding our masculinity when we do this. I'd say, what? And I'd say, please explain to me what you mean. If it was something where their legs were like in a leap and their legs were really spread apart from each other, or whatever that might look like. And they would explain it to me. And I would say, well, what about, and I'd give them another example. So what about when this football player has to leap over this big pile of people that are on the ground? This is where he could use that. What about when a break dancer does this movement? So I just continued to pull from real life experiences that particular group of boys would relate to.
And they like breakdancing.
And they liked breakdancing, so that was a big part of it. And then I learned from them. I'd say, what kind of things do you want to teach me? And kind of embodied some of their movement. That was very satisfying. They also said, we didn't take men's class to do worksheets. So I chewed on that for a little while too. They wanted to move from start to finish. They did not want to sit down to look at vocabulary words or to read a passage about history or anything. And so I sort of employed some of those practices in my female classes too. And I was like, this works for everybody. Everybody wants to get up and move as much as possible. So the men's class in many ways reinvigorated my teaching. It gave me another opportunity to relook at what I was presenting in the classroom and how I could turn things around and continue to improve upon that. And the boys had their own traditions. They had a different energy to bring into it. And so when they had the opportunity to do their own choreography, I mean, they took it and ran. They took it and ran. And the voices that they had in terms of their movement was just so fresh. Yeah. Now, were they afraid to get in front of their groups and perform? A little bit, their peer groups. And there were many moments when they would be like, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can get out there. But then once we got out there, and you can attest to this, the girls went crazy. It was like a Beatles concert. Like they were like almost passing out and like rushing the stage and standing at the edge. The boys would say, I had no idea. They loved it. They loved it. It was a positive attention and appreciation that they weren't prepared for. That in and of itself ignited maybe a lot of their performance excitement. Like, I can do this, and people are going to appreciate what they see. Now, did any of them get razzed outside? I mean, I'm sure they did. But I think they built enough confidence with their movement and their performance abilities.
And they did several pep rallies too, which they were able to showcase their work. Yeah. The whole school it was a very positive experience for them. And I think it goes back to giving them the opportunity to share their artistic voice through movement, because they have this definition of dance. They knew what they wanted, and just with guidance from Ronelle, they were able to achieve that. My experience with male dancers has been different because in folklorico dance, it's very gender role. Like, you're the male dancer, you're the leader in this dance, and this is how the dance is, this is how the step is, and this is how you lead the woman in this dance. But when I came to Creekview the first time and I saw the men's class, I mean, that was new to me. It was just fascinating because they embrace and they were like, this is what we do here at Creekview. Everybody just went crazy, but that also gave the male dancer enough confidence because then they knew what they needed to work on for the next concert. Even some of the conversations that I would hear Ronelle with them when she's talking to them about male undergarments, the socks. I remember passing through the hallway and I said, sticky and stinky, and it's like horrible. But the boys own it, and they were not embarrassed to express their voice through movement.
And then we would encourage them from there to audition for varsity groups for deeper performance experiences and things like that. But many of them just enjoyed being in a men's class and having that camaraderie in a different way. They just enjoyed moving every day and staying flexible and things like that. But then many did go into the company. In fact, you were a parent when we had more boys than girls in our dance company.
Yeah, that was amazing. I was an English teacher at the start of my career, and I remember this conversation around male students in writing.
Mhm.
And there was a book called Reading Don't Fix No Chevys.
Ah.
And it was about the kinesthetic needs of boys and some girls. I
Mhm.
mean, that notion of the kinesthetic learner is gender neutral, but particularly boys have been known to have that need to learn through movement. And so I see your program as providing that space. Your classes fill a void and unlock something that is a great need for students. I wonder how you
Mhm.
think about it as it relates to supporting students' mental health.
Movement in and of itself can be very therapeutic. Just the act of moving, even without a conscious effort attached to it, helps release chemicals in the body. So, moving and exploring what the possibilities are just for movement's sake is a brilliant therapeutic approach. But when you add that we can communicate through movement and that we can tell a story and we can solve things through movement, then you've taken it into that emotional level, and students will have responses to movements and movement projects that they had no idea that they even needed to experience. We often try to have our students work with a topic, and we try making it a safe space, but let's talk about the things that are on your mind or weighing heavy with you right now. So we've done dances about pretty much everything, haven't we? I mean, we've tackled the big topics that maybe don't get talked about, but they can get danced about safely.
When we have some of those big topics like about depression, anxiety, mental health, we involve our counselors. We have this conversation with our counselors. They know it's coming because sometimes those conversations within the classroom or as the students are developing movement also brings emotions that they need to be accessible for us to be able to send the student to them, and then our crisis counselor will work with that. We also incorporated meditation, teaching students to breathe and slow down and what that looks like. We have incorporated that in our curriculum.
I was going to say, like, even tough topics, like the things that might be bothering them that they don't really know how to express or talk about. We've done pieces where we've said, let's explore what's on your mind. And then they'll bring it up and they'll say, well, what I'm bothered about is I've seen these stories about police brutality. And they can't go beyond that too much, but they can talk about that they saw it and they know that that bothers them. And we can open that door and go, let's explore what's happening here and what feelings are associated with that. And are there solutions? And what can we do? What can we handle? And how can we express with honesty and integrity the things that are happening around us?
And it's about the human experience.
Exactly.
So we try to stay away from politics, but when the kids bring them up, as educators, we don't shut them down. But when those hard topics come up, our conversations become about the human experience of that topic. So, what are these people experiencing? And how does those emotions translate to movement?
What have you experienced? Has anyone in your family experienced this? Or have you seen it? Or do you know nothing about it? And what can we learn from other people? And then we start to put together those thoughts and ideas. And that level of understanding is what colors their movement. It's what brings it to life. And it's not just steps anymore, right? Because anybody can learn the steps and steps can be fun. But what is that connector that resonates behind the story and the meaning of the movement? And that can take some digging, and that's not always easy. But if we can provide a safe space for it in here, if they're writing about it in other classes, well, surely we can explore it through movement here, and those meaningful movements and gestures take on a whole new level of understanding and meanings.
As they're learning a cultural dance form, they're learning the history of that town, the costumes, values, why they're dancing. So cultural dances is the history of that town, of the people in that region that is now movement. So as they're learning cultural dances, they're also learning why they're dancing the way they're dancing, because those have been passed through generations. And then with spirit base, instead of just be like, oh, we're gonna have pumps and smile and kick, well, what is your dance about? So for all students from all the varsity groups, all the styles of dances, they're dancing with a purpose.
Because we can dance about joy too. There are things to celebrate and be joyful about. And so the spectrum can be wide.
I remember Miles using the dance program to process a couple of things that he was grappling with. And the first, it wasn't the murder of Trayvon. I think it was the trial and his murderer getting off. I remember us being on the couch and the verdict being shared. And he just had such a hard time with that. He couldn't believe it. He just couldn't believe that the verdict came down the way it did. And at the very next recital, he did a solo. J. Cole had a song called Be Free. And the emotion in the room was palpable. And then he did another dance. This one was probably later on, end of junior, maybe senior year. It was a teenager, a student, a person on a journey, and they were lost. The ancestors rose and supported them and pushed them forward, and they felt empowered, and then were able to continue their journey. And I remember seeing these things and thinking, how do you come up with this? And why can't you clean your room? Clearly, you're brilliant because, again, the energy in the auditorium was palpable. It translated. People understood what he was communicating with the lighting and all of these things. I was fascinated that this was my child who I was like, clean your room. I was trying to synthesize those two parts of him and also honor the fact that y'all held space for him to communicate and hone those skills at such a young age and allowed him to do that grappling, allowed him to express, those deep concerns and fears and the rumblings that were going on inside of him. And not just him, other students. I saw it over and over and over again. And it gave you a window into their thoughts and their experiences and their souls. Just really, really beautiful. And I know that kids were working through a lot on stage. And I just can only imagine the conversations that were being had behind the scenes as they were working on the productions and finalizing their performance pieces.
Those conversations are also what builds the trust, because sometimes there were tears. As an educator guiding these conversations, when you get to see the respect that the kids are starting to have for each other, when they start sharing their experiences and all that respect, the love, the care, then that's transmitted through movement. And that's what the audience is getting to experience and feel as well.
The audience doesn't have to really understand it, but they can feel it and they're going to experience it in their own way. So they may see different things on it and it may touch different things in them. But again, it's that human connection and that human experience that we all have, regardless of our backgrounds. Yeah. Finding that and tapping into that with kids, that's so important. And you're right, we don't know what's going on in their mind all the time. Sometimes we ask and we say, what are you thinking about? What are you worried about? What can I help you with? And you may or may not get an answer, but you might see it in their choreography and recognize it as, okay, here's what I think might be going on with you. And now I know how I can support you better. Just having the space to do it and the space to create a short phrase or a long phrase gives them that opportunity to be heard, even though it's visual.
Ms. Hardaway, another experience that was really paramount to Miles's graduating class was when you gave them the honor of participating in, was it your master's thesis?
Yes, it was my MFA project about Dia de los Muertos.
Yes. and talking about your family and your culture and allowing them to just be a part of your story in that way was so valuable to them. It was like you were giving them a piece of you and saying, I'm trusting you with this. And I just know how seriously they took that. It meant so much to them. Yeah.
To be honest, they made my process through my research so easy. First of all, Creekview has always been known to have a strong fine arts program, and that's how I knew of Creekview. When Mr. La Puma was like, "Are you looking for a job?" And I said, in the middle of my master's. And when I came to the interview and I saw that I was going to be working with the Ronelle Eddings, because I was like, oh my God, I need to get this job. When they offered me the job and I came in, I was like, Ronelle, I have this project. I was just doing drill team at that time, and the aesthetic in drill team is different than what I needed in my master's. And I said, would you allow me to work with moving ground for this project? And she's like, ask them and see who wants to be a part of it. I was like, I'll take whoever's available. We need to do this. I mean, they were just one, extremely mature. They were open to try new things. Although I was sharing about what we were doing, I said, I don't want you to do what I need you to do. I want you to explore what this means. What does life mean after we move on from this earth? How do you celebrate people that had passed away? How do you honor them through movement? And we had 2 years of improvisation explorations. It was like a lab of movement, and every time they came in after school or before school, they had a different topic. So that was part of my practice. How do you use cultural identity with dancers who are from a different culture than you, but also create a choreographic process that they're able to identify to find their own artistic voice to create contemporary choreography? And they were just so hungry to create. They made the project what it was because they were ready to explore. They took it to a different level. I had one thing in mind in the beginning, and as we were exploring and things were developing, I mean, you got to see the final performance. That was something totally different. And even my family was like, we were expecting a full show of folklorico dance. And for my mom, it was beautiful because it involved my grandmother, who I never met, but I love her and I know her through the stories that we learn about her through Dia de los Muertos, when we would do our altars at home since we were children. So all those practices and traditions that we had as a family, that's also part of my teaching and practice when I'm working with students. Everybody has their own magic. How can we find your identity? Because culture is not always about ethnicity, it's also about the space that you create around other people. So I learned a lot. He was amazing. Yes.
Watching them tell a story that I knew was your story, but they held it so preciously and were so honored to be the vessels that you allow them to be to tell your story. Their identities went away and they just really fully embodied the project. These are the same kids who come and eat pizza at my house. Like, what is happening? So it was really beautiful to watch. I could tell that it meant so much to them to be a part of that. The whole time, y'all are cultivating leadership and cultivating leaders. And it's really beautiful. I don't know if you know this story, but when Zach and Miles came to, I guess it was eighth grade preview day, they saw the men's dance performance at the pep rally, and they had made this agreement that if Zach signed up, Miles would sign up. If Miles signed up, then Zach would sign up. And I mean, the rest is history, right? The rest is history. Miles and Zach, not only did they enroll in that men's dance class together, they graduated together and went on to Point Park University together and started their careers on opposite coasts. And it's really sad that Zach is no longer with us, but I wonder how you keep his legacy alive and if you have a favorite memory of Zach August being in the moving ground or at Creek?
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
It was definitely a hard year.
Yeah.
Very, very hard year.
We have lots of good memories, don't we? In fact, one of the things that we felt was really critical was to embrace the emerging artist. And so we have started what we call the Zach August Emerging Artist Fund, and people can donate to it. And then that money can be used for specific uses within the program to help continue the education of our new emerging artists here. So that's brand new, and we've just started. There's already some money in there, though. People have been donating, which we think is so beautiful. So we speak about him, and we have a couple of plans to bring his name into our hallway and towards the auditorium. We feel his presence here all the time. And so we feel like he's here with us oftentimes when we're putting together shows and dancers are performing. There was just something so special about this space and about them being in it and Zach being in it.
And Zach was here every December or May doing free classes. He's like, I'm in town.
Yeah.
Can I come and teach or
choreograph?
He choreographed for Moving Ground every year, even during COVID. He did it through online. We had the privilege of him setting a work on the drill team, on the Chevals. And he was so nervous because he's like, this is my first time choreographing from a drill team. We had like 54 dancers. I said, you're going to be great. Just come and teach. And it was great because my children were there. So he got to meet Corey and Obi. We also did a video that we plan to play during our concerts before the show starts so that parents know about him and then they can know about the fund. We were able to set up the scholarship through Education Foundation. So all the donations are tax deductible. As an emerging artist, we got to see Zach's work as a high school student, as someone who attended Point Park, and someone that was like, I'm going to New York. And we were like, what? You know, but it's also how to help our students. We have no idea what he was dealing with. And even us as educators,
we ask ourselves all the time, what did we miss? What can we do better to make sure that we keep that door open? And we know that we can't handle everything and there's no possibility to solve everything, but we think about it all the time. Like, what can we do? What can we say? What other opportunities can we provide for our kiddos to make sure that they know that this is a home for them always? We always want them to come back. We always want them to know that the community that we're building is something we're building together.
Even talking to Miles, when he's talking to us about his agents and all the things that I was like, what? You need an agent? Like, we were not able to provide that for him. So I was telling Ronelle, we need to create like a graduation packet that they take to college with just like resources and guidelines, because even us, we're learning from Miles as a professional dancer. Zach, when he did reach out, while he was in New York, and we were just trying to like find the connections to be able to help them with some of the challenges that we're facing.
It helps us learn too. So kind of that continual, like, come, let us know what's happening so we can learn with you and maybe we can figure this out together. Can I tell you one of my favorite memories of Zach? I know you had asked.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, Zach was the president of Moving Ground for 2 years. So he was a leader for the entire company and the face of the company in many ways, speaking and communicating for them. And we traveled to Pittsburgh for the National High School Dance Festival, and the company was performing and taking classes. We have protocol for how we stay in our rooms, and one of the pieces of that is putting some special tape on the door so that the door is sealed in the evening. And so I seal it. We check all the doors, note the time, and then we come through in the morning very early and take the tape off. And it's a very simple thing, but it gives us all a little bit of peace of mind knowing that we can check the doors and everybody's staying where they're supposed to, and they might sleep and prepare for the physicality of the days. Of course, traveling with a large group of boys and having that rock star effect, we'll call it. Everywhere we went, people would fall in love with them immediately. And they all wanted to hang out with them, and they all wanted to see them after hours. And so, without my knowing, some of that was bubbling. And there was a group of girls from a different school, and they were very interested in meeting up with the boys from our school. And the boys said, "Hey, we get our doors taped, and there's no way that we could do it." And the girls said, "Well, we'll go ahead and take the tape off for you and then put it back on." But Zach handled all of it. And I just happened to walk and see him in the hallway with all of the officers. This was prior to my knowledge, but he was sitting with them and he was having a conversation. And I took a look and I thought, he'll let me know if there's anything that I need to know. I think he's got it under control. I could tell it was serious. And I found out later that he was letting them know, we're here to dance. We will not be going anywhere. Nobody will be breaking out of rooms. We're not removing the tape. But he thought of that and handled that before I even had to say anything or I had even learned of the plan. And I just remember feeling so much pride and respect in that moment for him coming to that conclusion, understanding the gravity of our trip. Because sure, why not, right? Hey, we'll go hang out with these guys and it'll just be fun. But he squashed it and made sure that everybody remembered our purpose and our goal there. And that was something that I'll never forget, the way he was looking at them, the integrity he had. He made eye contact and those kids respected him and they did what he asked. So it was really cool.
And for me, I have several, but one that I remember a lot through the MFA project, we had the opportunity to perform at Texas Women's University. They had an alumni dance concert, and we submitted a work to be adjudicated to see if we got selected, and we got selected. We went, performed, and as we were leaving, there was a big bus, a TWU bus, and it had a picture of me taking a selfie. And Zach was like, "Is that Mrs. Well, at that time I was Miss Canamar. Is that you, Miss Canamar?" And I said, "Oh my God, it's me." And like everybody got off the cars and did a whole video like, we love her. And I should have that video. And I remember we were like, "Oh my God, that's me in the bus." But I think it was like a promo video. And I was like, "Oh my God, I didn't even know that picture existed." I mean, that picture was from 2005.
Listen, you were famous. They saw their teacher on the side of the bus. I love that. I have so many memories of Zach, but he was such an amazing young man
Yes.
and beloved and respected and serious about the things that he needed to be serious about. So silly about the things that brought us all joy. And so I definitely wanted to talk about him with people who knew him and loved him. And every chance we get, I know that's something that's just really important for us to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Tell me from the top about your nonprofit work.
So for years, we've seen a shift in dance education where it's becoming more competitive, specific skills, more like the entertainment part of dance, where programs like Creekview, where we offer cultural dance, artistic dance, also spirit dance based groups, are kind of going away. We opened a nonprofit organization. It's called Texas Association for Dance and Culture, and it's like 40 of us from different cultural advocates, dance directors, people that specialize in different forms of dance. We came together, filed to open it, and we just completed our first year. So we have an adopted school program where a business can sponsor a Title I school that is in need of costumes or equipment materials that they need. They can contact our nonprofit and then we help them. We also held our first professional development for educators at Texas Women's University this summer. We were in partnership with the Texas Women's University Dance Division. But the incredible part of it is that we had dance educators from pre-K all the way to college. We had college professors that traveled from Utah to about our program. We had counselors. We had nonprofit organizations that focus on mental health that are lobbying for dance to become kind of like a prescribed
movement
therapy. We also held our first, we call it folkloric movement workshop, where we're introducing students to different forms of dance, but also apply the dance fundamentals. Kind of like what we do at Creekview. Our goal is to have a well-rounded dancer. And we had our first one here at Creekview. What else have we done?
Summer. Well, and let me clarify a couple things. First, Karla is the executive director. So Karla is the one who has spearheaded it and brought in her team. One of the things we've always talked about is teachers who don't have the opportunity to get enough professional development. So we want to cultivate a culture of positive learning experiences and real world effective experiences for teachers so that they can take these programs, these ideas into their programs and expand what they have to offer in their schools. Texas is very proud of their drill team and precision dance work. It's very important, but there's so much more, and so many kids identify with so much more than that. The programs and the building, it's been very focused on that, and TADC has had a hand in the Folklorico contest, which we are presenting to the UIL Congress.
The UIL is a nonprofit organization based with the University of Texas, and they monitor the academic contests, all the athletic contests. In 2019, right before COVID, in North Texas, at that time, we only had 13 high schools in North Texas. In Dallas ISD, Grand Prairie, Creekview, and Richardson ISD, 13 schools that provided a folklorico program, but we didn't get funding for our programs. So we created an evaluation to advocate with our fine arts directors and our districts of why we needed funding for this group of students. The students that we're serving are students who don't identify with artistic dance or precision dance, but also a lot of them are students who are new to the country. They're learning the language, which it was me back in 1995. And we created an evaluation where we would go and a panel of judges will evaluate our performances. And then we were either rated Division 1, 2, or 3. So we've been collecting data since 2019. And in 2024, we went to the UIL and presented the contest. So we've been going for a year providing data. But the beautiful thing about it is that we connected with 194 folklorico dance educators all over Texas. Wow. And we didn't even know that was, we knew in South Texas, folklorico was really big. Yeah. And to be honest, like we have always looked up to that because they have established budgets for their programs. But we found small towns that their only form of dance in their school is ballet folklorico. And then these teachers, they're not dance teachers, they're either the Spanish teacher or the secretary. Isn't it so beautiful that kids are being exposed to dance? So what we're also working through the nonprofit is that if we have dance educators or we have folklorico educators that have only done ballet folklorico, but they don't know the dance fundamentals, then we can also mentor them on how to apply the dance fundamentals so that these folklorico dancers, if they're planning to go to college to get a degree in dance, they also know the artistic part of it that they need to have. One of the motivations was when we had, after COVID, we had our first contest in person, and a lot of the kids were participating wearing black socks because they didn't have the proper footwear, and they didn't have the proper footwear because there's no funding. And I think I cried like the next day. So I was like, poor children, they didn't have shoes. And Ronelle is like, friend, we all start somewhere. Yeah. We are at a place where we're not afraid to advocate for students.
Listen, y'all are tremendous agents of change and a testament to the fact that you can do leadership and equity focused leadership wherever you are. So people think that you have to be in a specific role but you see those inequities in the dance world. The other thing that's really beautiful is that conversation is the way that humans think together. That's the quote from Margaret Wheatley. And the two of you together are just powerhouse change agents, seeing things that need to be done, tackling those things, not only taking them to your school community, to the city community, but to the state, and bringing other people together in ways that empower them to be change agents. That is amazing.
It's getting momentum. We have a board of directors, and we have an advisory board. We have our committees. But even our board of directors, they're all in different areas of Texas and they have different experiences. We have college professors. I think our team is incredible and everybody want what's best for students. And that's why I think it's working. It's what are we doing for that community and what can these students experience? Because they're going to be in charge at one point. So who's going to be the next generation to make change?
On that note, I do always end each episode with a secret shenanigans story. And I love that this time I get to have two, unless y'all have the same one.
So we were preparing for a concert, and I had a student teacher who was in the classroom with me. And we have a particular exercise that we call the floor bar. And I teach it to every year. And so you lay on the floor and you do all these exercises, but they're on your back. So this is a tradition before shows for moving ground. I was teaching it to them, and my student teacher was in the classroom. And we did a certain movement where the legs were up in the air. And one of the students let a big sound out. It was a toot of great magnitude, not a little one. And you know, that happens, right? It happens. So you got to try not to laugh because it's a natural thing. It was loud and you couldn't cover it up with a cough or something like that. It was big. My student teacher was across from me and we just sort of like looked at each other and I said, whoopsie daisy. And then we just kept teaching because I couldn't think of what else to say. And so we finished the exercise. None of the kids owned up to it. I said, okay, go work in your groups. And so the students got to work. And I looked at the student teacher and I said, well, you know, those things happen. He said, well, I did okay until you said whoopsie daisy. And then he and I laughed for like 15 minutes and couldn't stop laughing. We were crying. We were laughing so hard. So that became the joke for the rest of the year. Anytime anything went wrong, we would say, well, whoopsie daisies.
And to add to that, before each concert, Ronelle and I will go and welcome the audience and just talk about a concert. Well, here I am with Ronelle and our same student teacher. Walking backstage, and I don't know what was on the floor, or it was a choir riser, and I fell flat on everything. Like I had heels, and I got stuck in one of them, but it fell flat on my face. And then I had to get up and walk in heels, all bruised up. And she's like, are you okay, friend? I said, I think so. I think so. And I'm like holding my weight with one leg, talking to the parents. And
the parents didn't know what happened, though.
No, the students did.
Okay.
So, I mean, nobody knew what to say. They were like, are you okay?
like, oh, my heels.
Oh, I forgot about that, friend. Oh my gosh.
The teacher had a lot of experiences.
Is there anything else that y'all want to share?
I think one of the things we'd like to say also is how glad we are that you're in the world and that you're bringing all of these beautiful topics to everyone to be able to experience. And we know you're incredible and we know that your son is incredible. And we're just so happy to know you guys and so honored to be a part of your lives. So thank you for including us today.
Oh, it's definitely my pleasure, my honor. I am so grateful for y'all. Your legacy is so incredibly strong. There are so many folks who can say that they're carrying a little piece of you. So that to me is what leadership is all about, our influence and us making sure that we lift up the people around us. I know how incredibly important you are to not only the Creekview community, but to so many people, and how much love and how much of yourselves you're pouring out into the world.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
So much.
Thanks for spending a few minutes with me today. I hope this episode reminds you that leadership is within your reach, flaws, fears, and all. If this episode resonated with you, feel free to share it. Feel free to email me at wecoachingandconsulting@gmail.com. And as always, remember that you are already enough and you have everything you need to lead right where you are. Until next time, take care, stay courageous, and keep leading with love.